Alright, let me get my water ready. Checkpoint travel capacity. Open up your map. Cheaper respecking, 40 to 50% less. Added a shortcut to open skill advanced info. You can now compare equipped flasks when using a gamepad. Added shards to currency exchange. Added a button to travel to your guild without interacting with the waypoint. Consistent elemental resistance penalties. Critical strikes from monsters deal 40% less. Chaos damage is scaled less aggressively. Ground laser and ground lightning abilities used by Rune Knight and Expedition encounters now deal less damage. Burning ground no longer increases coverage. That must have been frustrating. Yeah, the Siphon Splash Charges modifier has been nerfed 10 times as much. Disabled volatile crystals. Trail of Fire modifier deals 30% less. Lasts 3 seconds. Trail of Lightning, Trail of Ice. Purple explosives created by volatile plants. Packs of Prowling Chimerals and maps now contain less of the Prowling Chimerals and spawn alongside some zombies. Lowered baseline monster density of breaches. Inconsistency in packs. Volatile spawned for Trial of Chaos now accelerate over time. Stormcaller runes, Trial of Chaos now are smaller and take longer to charge up. And give more time to escape once triggered. The runes now also get larger as the modifier is upgraded. Improved the hitboxes of a number of abilities by Blackjaw the Remnant. Good. Thank you. Oh my gosh. The crossbow variants of the decrepit mercenary monsters that dealt fire damage now deal less damage. Trail of the Sekhama's improvements. Or trial. Sorry. Trail. Honor damage now scales down based on distance to enemies, 35% less. It's pretty nice, but that's the maximum. We'll see how that feels and how quickly it falls off. Fixed the bug where damage over time was dealing 3 times as much damage to honor. I may have been experiencing that. Skitter golems no longer use basic attacks. Instead now just explode. Serpent Clan Burrow and ambush attacks have been improved with visual telegraphs and can't be used as far away. Rattlecage's fissures now last half as long. Keyword hover for the honor mechanic in the Trial of Sekhama's. Second Slam deals 50% more damage to heavy stunned enemies. Ice Shot. Buffs to bow skills, I guess. Big Ice Shot buffs. Electrocuting Arrow base duration. That's a pretty big duration buff. Barrage is 25% less damage on barrage attacks. That's a pretty big buff. Shock chain arrows. Shockwaves now deal 100% more damage. 6 to 2 seconds at all levels for Sniper's Mark. Combat Frenzy now gain Frenzy charges 3 from 7 seconds. Additional impact radius as it levels for Stormcaller's arrow. Vine arrow's damage over time has been adjusted. To my understanding, this has been bricked. Sad egg. Bye, Vine arrow. Tornado shot's damage over time has been adjusted. It is now slightly lower or slightly higher at lower levels and substantially lower at higher levels. The intention of this ability was to propagate your other bow skills as opposed to doing an immense amount of damage itself. Sad egg. Two abilities dead. Magnetic salvo can now only use your stuck lightning arrows as opposed to those created by your party members. RIP party play. Or at least, a party play strategy. Increase the damage growth per level on Unearth, Bone Storm, Bone Cage, Bone Blast, and Power Siphon. Results in approximately 50% more damage at gym level 25. Increase the damage growth per level on Essence Drain, Contagion, Profane Ritual, and Chaos Bolt. Results in approximately 33% more damage at gym level 25. Bone Cage critical strike chance has been increased by 2%. Skeletal Arsonist Spirit Coats now match other minion types. They were too cheap. Bone Offering Explosion now has 15% critical strike, 2% buff. Resonating Shield. 6 to 8 added physical damage per 15 armor on your shield at all levels. Resonating Shield Radius buff. Shield Wall explosions increased to 4 meters instead of 2. Shield Wall can now create a maximum of 2 walls instead of 1. Siege Cascade attack time buff. A bunch of Siege Cascade buffs. I'm guessing Siege Cascade was a little bit on the struggle bus. 50% more damage against the mobile enemies. Now there's 167% more damage. Jeez, yeah, Siege Cascade got a lot going for it now. Storm Blast Bolt. Maximum of 30 active bolts from 9. 5 bolts in the clip from 3. 30% less reload speed, 50%. Okay. Plasma Blast now has 47% more damage in its initial hit and 25% less damage with hits. Explosion causing it to rely less on colliding with walls to deal enough damage. Artillery Blast explosion radius increased to 1.8 meters. Artillery Blast damage increased by approximately 21%. Gathering Storm's Perfect Dash does 53% more. Wave of Frost has 275% more freeze buildup at all levels from 150%. Staggering Palms duration now scales with levels. Staggering Palms projectiles now deal 20% more damage at all levels. Concoction. Skills from the Pathfinder Ascendancy class now consume 3 charges from mana flasks. Their damage has been increased and deal approximately 66% more damage when the skill is level 20. In addition, the base added damage has been increased by at least 50% for all concoction skills, with poisonous and bleeding concoction receiving greater damage buffs. Fulminating concoction has had a critical strike chance of 8, up from 6. Shattering concoction now has critical strike chance of 1% from 7%. And explosive concoction now has 100% more chance to ignite enemies and 100% more magnitude of ignites inflicted. Fulminating concoction now has 100% more chance to inflict shock, and shattering concoction now has 1% more chance to freeze buildup. The Hunter's Talisman passive skill notable now grants +1 to charm slot. The small skills passives leading up to it now grant the stat it formerly gave. Huh? Yeah. Do it. Feed him. Lil W charms. Added a new lightning damage and electrocute cluster to the passive tree in between the ranger and monk sections. Okay. Heavy frost notable passive skill now causes hits to only ignore enemy resistances of frozen enemies if their resistance values were positive. What? Oh, I see. I got you. That's a positive thing. If they had negative resistances, you wouldn't want their resistances to be ignored. Supercharged Slam now builds up stages slower but gains 40% more damage per stage now from 20%. This may display as 20% still incorrectly until a later patch. So Supercharged Slam got a little bit of a buff. Electrocute is now 25% harder to build up. It is now more difficult to chain freeze. Added a marker effect to Ember Fusilade's preferred target. Added the Trimmer's support gem, which can be used to build up multiple aftershocks, but you deal less damage. Bidding support gem, which is for minions to command your minions. Lightning exposure, fire exposure, and cold exposures no longer penalize the damage of supported skill. Electrocute no longer penalizes damage. The lacerate support now grants 50% chance to bleed, up from 30%. The envenom support now grants 50% chance to poison, down from 60%. Impact shockwave support now has an aftershock radius of 2 meters from 1.4 meters. The bidding support now grants 30% more damage to minion command skills. The considered casting support now only supports spells you cast yourself. It now grants 40% more spell damage and 15% less cast speed. The aftershock support now has 25% chance to cast aftershock instead of only 20%. The mobility support no longer has a damage penalty but applies 30% less movement speed penalty. What? That sounds terrible. The Execrate support now has 100% chance to inflict ailments. The Ricochet support now has 40% chance to chain from terrain. The Withered Touch support now has 25% less damage from 50%. Huh. Nerfs to chaos damage. The Ferocity support now has 40% more skill speed when consuming a Frenzy Charge. Change the Wild Charge support gem to fire projectiles in a circle instead of spiral pattern. The Decaying Hex support now deals 60% of intelligence as chaos damage per second. From 30%. Wow. The Stomping Ground supports Shockwave and now deals 80 to 120% of your strength as physical damage. You gotta go? Okay. I love you. Stomping Ground, I didn't know that it dealt percentage of your strength. Interesting. Stomping Ground got a massive, massive buff. Wow. Stomping Ground is definitely going to be part of any strength stacker's arsenal now. From 20 to 30% of your strength to 80 to 120%. I wonder how those like scale though, because I don't think support gems have levels, do they? Is it dependent upon the level of the gem they're attached to? I don't know. Um, anyways, yeah, Stomping Ground. Keep it in mind. That's pretty strong now. Item balance. The charm modifiers on belts have been made substantially more common and now appear at much lower levels. We'll see about that. The unique item, the Adorned, now applies to time lost jewels. Wow, that's pretty powerful. The time lost jewel modifier of regeneration now applies 3 to 7% increased life regeneration rate in notables and radius, from 1 to 2%. Existing versions of this item will not be updated unless a divine orb is used. RIP. Bug fixes. Fixed a bug where the unique item Maligaro's Virtuosity was granting the wrong amount of critical damage. I got a cat hair in my mouth. Fixed a bug where the Crumbling Walls Atlas passive notable was applying to maps that didn't contain breaches. Fixed a bug where the stat granted by the Organized Forces Atlas passive notable was causing less waystones to drop due to trying to upgrade them to a tier that didn't exist. Fixed a bug where interactables would remove the player from demon form. That'd be annoying. Fixed a bug where certain rare monsters would respawn at checkpoints after consuming their corpse. Fixed a bug where leveling a skill gem incorrectly displayed the level changed when it was supported by gems which granted additional skill levels. This was purely a visual issue. Fixed a bug where Unearth didn't work with the Sacrifice Spirit gem. Yo. Corrupting Cry removed from the game. Sad egg. Fixed a bug where Corrupting Cry was able to be used with Corrupting Cry skills, even though we don't really want Corrupting Cry in the game, so we're sorry about that. Fixed a bug where the Elemental Expression skill from the Invoker Ascendancy class had an incorrect hitbox. Yeah, there's been like a lot of hitbox shenanigans. Fixed a bug where the Monk Ascendancy node Embrace the Darkness would desync when losing life and energy shield. Whoa! Fixed a bug where the prevented party members from entering the Zesh fight once it had begun. Fixed a bug where the cosmetics equipment UI was missing the tier selector for some slots. Fixed a bug where the Trial Master encounter dialogue failed to play. Fixed a bug where the Rising Tempest support where it was giving more damage per elemental skill. rather than more damage per elemental type that was used. Fixed a bug where the pathfinding could cause jittering of the character in some cases. Fixed a bug where destroying items in hideouts wasn't possible. Fixed a bug where frost wall segments could leave phantom walls causing invisible blocking. Fixed a bug where implicit abilities and non-weapon unique items required a low level to use. What? Oh, required a low level to use. Weird. Fixed a bug where the Chronomancer's debuff expiry rate nodes were applying to Quicksand Hourglass. Fixed a bug where the Ember Fusillade could fail to target enemies. Fixed a bug where the Sacrifice Spirit Gem couldn't target minions that profaned ritual. Fixed a bug where the explosion from the armor explosion support could explode inanimate objects. Oh, that'd be fun though. Fixed a bug where some spirit gems displayed our incorrect error message. Fixed a bug where the Arbiter Vash area level wasn't being increased with difficulty. Fixed a bug where the emergency reload wasn't put on cooldown if you were using 2 emergency reload skill gems. Fixed a bug where the energizing bolt flask didn't work. Fixed a crash on gamepad where concoction skills from the Pathfinder Ascendancy class would cause a crash when changing areas. Fixed a bug where some players would disconnect when trying to enter maps in the Ziggurat, Refuge, or Guild hideouts while in a party. Fixed a bug where the explosion from the armor explosion support could trigger itself recursively. Recursively means to repeat an action or say the same thing multiple times to achieve a desired result. Wow, you could just get armor explosion in an infinite loop. That's cool. Fix the bug where Ice Shot was unable to cause freeze buildup. Fix the bug where some volatiles in the Trial of Chaos were follow the player up elevators. Fix the bug where inscribed ultimatums into Jin Barrios dropped in Cruel and would incorrectly tell you that you could get Ascendancy points by completing them even if you wouldn't. Fix the bug where ballista skills didn't work with tornadoes created by Tornado Shot. Fixed a bug where using a gamepad where the hide sockets option didn't work. Fixed a bug when using a gamepad when you couldn't see distilled emotion recipes on the passive tree. Fixed a bug when using a gamepad where you could use access to portal access settings while viewing the hideout stash. Fixed a bug when creating solo self-found characters wasn't possible when using a gamepad while migrations are disabled. Fixed a bug when using a gamepad where you couldn't use the shortcut bind to open chat. Fixed a bug when using a gamepad that causes it to make multiple attempts to change the tier selector of microtransactions. Fixed a bug when using the gamepad where you couldn't set an individual price on an item premium stash tabs. Fixed a bug when using a gamepad where you couldn't socket jewels into specific unique items. Fixed 12 client crashes. Fixed 3 instance crashes. You're an Ice Shot enjoyer now? Bro, what about Stomping Ground? Stomping Ground? Let's just do the math on that, okay? What is that? That's a 600% buff. 20% to 120? That's a 600% buff for Stomping Ground. That's pretty huge. Yeah, those are some good patch notes.